Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here with the post-game reaction to the Oilers' 3-0 loss to the Montreal Canadiens. And before I get into the game, before I start ranting about different things and talk about how poorly the Oilers played, I want to give a huge shout out to the city of Montreal and Montreal Canadiens fans. Habs fans, you treated me and my dad so well. Montreal, the city itself, this is one of the most incredible, most beautiful cities I've ever been to. And even though the Oilers lost and it was a tough game to watch at the Bell Center, man, what an experience. The Bell Center is just a 10 out of 10 building to be in. The fans, 10 out of 10. Yes, I got heckled, but that's to be expected. It was all in good fun. Habs fans, you are truly amazing. So GG's on the game, and thank you so much for hosting. I really hope to come back and watch another game soon with the Oilers in Montreal. Maybe I'll come back next year. Maybe I'll make this like a yearly thing and try and come here every single year because Montreal, you got a bright future. There's a lot of good pieces on that team, and they made the Oilers look terrible tonight. You would not know which team is supposed to be a cup contender and which team is in the middle of a rebuild. The Oilers lose 3-0. They go 0 for 3 on the power play. Good news for Edmonton. I think the one positive is their penalty kill was able to stop both of Montreal's power plays. But in terms of overall play in this game, the Oilers had a great first period. I thought the Oilers had a wonderful first period. I think they outchanced Montreal in the first 4-1 in terms of high danger looks. But after that first period, the Oilers completely sucked. They sucked. There's no other way to put it. The Edmonton Oilers played poorly after the first, and Montreal, they played a patient game, and they waited for Edmonton to make some mistakes, and they didn't try and do too much. They weren't forcing things. Montreal, they kept things simple. The Edmonton Oilers were forcing so much every time they had offensive pressure. Instead of trying to throw a puck towards the goal, feed it to the point, get a shot on net, they were trying to force these passes, these dangles, these moves, these dekes. They were doing way too much with the puck, especially on their power plays as well. I know Nugent Hopkins hit the crossbar. Watching that game live, you start to realize and you start to notice different things. The team right now overall for the Oilers, their forward group, they don't look cohesive right now. There is something going on there. I don't know if it's just a lack of confidence. I don't know what is going on with the group as a whole. And I had some fans mention that Leafs game to me because there were a few Oilers fans that went to the Leafs game in Toronto, and they mentioned a few things about the Oilers forward group that they just didn't look right. And that's a great way to put this group right now in Montreal. They didn't look right. They didn't look like they were cohesive at all. Their best chances, honestly, didn't even come 5-on-5. They had a couple good looks on the power play. Yes, they had a couple goals that were technically called back. I do want to know, live, that second goal, or that first goal for Edmonton, that would have been their first goal in quotation marks, but the second goal that was called back, the net was off its moorings. But I thought the puck was in before the net came off, and they didn't announce anything in the stadium. They didn't announce anything at the Bell Center why that goal didn't count. If you watched the game on Amazon Prime tonight, can you let me know what the explanation was for that? It was kind of tough to get a read on why that didn't get called. I thought the puck was in before the net came off because Hyman did crash. The net came off briefly. It went back on. The puck was worked around back to Ekholm. Was it just a situation where it was just called goalie interference? I actually don't know. I was on the far end of the Bell Center, so that happened 250 feet away from me. I want to know what the actual call was. So if you watch the game on Prime, please let me know what that explanation was, at least on the broadcast. And speaking of Prime, speaking of Amazon Prime, the Oilers have played 2 games on Amazon Prime and have been outscored 6-0. They lost to New Jersey 3-0, and now they lost to the Montreal Canadiens 3-0. And there isn't a whole lot of positives to talk about in terms of the Oilers team or players. I would say the only player that I thought played well tonight was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and that's pretty reflective of the advanced stats too. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins led the team in expected goals for at 5 tonight, over 70%. And then, but the Oilers' big guns, Bouchard, Ekholm, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, they're big guns, the guys that they usually rely on, and guys that, you know, if they're not going at 100%, if they're not scoring, it's tough to blame them because of how much they do for the team and how much they do contribute to the team's wins. Tonight, they were one of the main reasons why the team lost. The Oilers' top players were not their best players. And yes, Bouchard, before Montreal's first goal, another horrible play in the offensive zone. Terrible giveaway. Puck comes down, goes down to the Oilers' zone. Draisaitl, he came onto the ice for Connor McDavid, who went for a change. I can't show the goal visualizer just with how my setup is in the hotel room here in Montreal. I wish I could, but I encourage everyone, go on NHL.com/scores, click on the Oilers game, go to Game Center, and then go to the goal visualizer. Draisaitl just decided not to back check at all. Connor Brown was late reacting to Gallagher in the slot. It was a beautiful tip by Brendan Gallagher, who, by the way, I love Brendan Gallagher. Habs fans, I know Brendan Gallagher, he had some couple tough years here, but it's pretty cool to see him at 8 goals already this season. So good for Brendan Gallagher. It comes at the expense of me, but the Oilers' top players did not play nearly good enough. There's no killer instinct on the power play. The Oilers had 3 power plays in this game. 3. And I think they had maybe 2 shots on goal. The second and third power plays that they got, I don't remember if anything actually got to Montembeault, who, by the way, played good. I didn't think Sam Montembeault had to be great. It was one of those games, and I mentioned it in my pregame report. I was like, I predicted the Oilers win 6-3 because you looked at the advanced metrics. I thought, with how these two teams play, Montreal, they're a little bit more open. They're not usually as structured in the neutral zone. Tonight, they proved me wrong. The Montreal Canadiens, they played disciplined in that neutral zone. They were forcing the Oilers to dump it. They were forcing them to chase it. They were forcing them to make plays. They weren't making them comfortable or weren't allowing the Oilers to be comfortable to get a shot on net. And the Oilers' top players, they kept overthinking everything. Now, when we get to the actual expected goals at 5-on-5 in this game, Edmonton had a 28% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5. The Montreal Canadiens had a 72% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5. Like I said, the Oilers had a good first period, but the second and third period, it was all Montreal. And for the Edmonton Oilers, they're supposed to be a cup contender. They're supposed to be a team that is, with how good they are at 5-on-5 at controlling play, getting shots, getting chances. This team lacks finish, and they continue to lack an identity. Josh Brown got into the lineup for Edmonton tonight, and I thought, you know what? Maybe Josh Brown, Arbor Jackeye, there's some tough players on both teams. Maybe something happens here. Maybe there's a little bit of, nastiness that'll happen. No, nothing happened. There was literally nothing that happened in this game that made me think that the Oilers had any form of pushback. The Montreal Canadiens, there were a few players on their team that landed some big hits. There was a hit by Jackeye on Zach Hyman in the neutral zone. I think it was in the first period. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. I think it was the first period. And now, I don't expect anyone to fight because of a good, clean hit. Great hit by Jackeye in the neutral zone. But the fact that the Oilers don't have any pushback right now, there is zero pushback with this team. There's zero pushback. There's zero offense. Their power play is struggling. Their penalty kill is the only thing that's actually doing well as of late. The Oilers, they have to win tomorrow against Ottawa. They have to go into Ottawa on the second half of a back-to-back and find a way to win and salvage this road trip. That would put them at 1-1-1, which I think would be acceptable. It's not optimal, but it would be acceptable. The team right now, they're a little discombobulated. They're out of sorts, and I don't know what you do. There's not a whole lot of players that you can bring up from the AHL that, switches the lineup around and injects enough youth. Yeah, you can bring up Noah Philp, but you're just taking Derek Ryan out. You're kind of, it's just exchanging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's not doing a significant thing on the ice that will impact a game. Unless you are sitting one of their big guns, but you can't afford that right now because of the injury to Darnell Nurse. Victor Arvidsson is still out. Still don't know what's going on with him. In terms of the overall game, probably the worst game of the season in terms of how Edmonton played. Again, I'm beating a dead horse here with this analysis. Edmonton played good in the first, second and third, they were terrible. Montreal, they were clearly outmatched in the first period, but their penalty kill really elevated their game. You could tell, and you could tell in the building too. There was so much energy in the building. Those penalty kills for Montreal were massive. And when they got that goal at the end of the second, they almost got a second goal. And that building, man, I'm telling you what, Bell Center, I've only been to 2 NHL buildings. Just first class, all first class at the Bell Center. Fans were great. I don't know. That's my analysis. That's my initial post-game reaction. I'm going to be back in Alberta tomorrow night. If you're watching this, the next day, if you're watching this on Tuesday, the 19th, I'll be back in Alberta tonight. I do have an early flight once again. So there will be no day after discussion for this game, and there will be no pregame report for the Ottawa game. However, I will be doing a live stream for the Oilers and Senators tomorrow night. I should be back in time, pending, knocking on wood, making sure that there's no flight delays or anything. I should be back in time at my own place in Alberta to be able to do a live stream for the Oilers and Senators, and hopefully the offense shows up. Hopefully the Oilers' big guns show up, and hopefully this team finds a way to start digging in here. Because if not, If not, like they're 9-8-2 right now on the season. This season could get away on the Oilers. You've got to find a way to get some wins, and they're coming up with a tough schedule here. They play Minnesota soon and the Rangers, and then they're off for I think 5 days. You got to find a way to get a couple wins here and feel good about your game before that 5-day break at the end of the month. We'll see how it goes. I'll see you all tomorrow night, hopefully for the Oilers and Senators. I do apologize that I won't have a day after or a pregame report up for that Senators game, but now that I'll be doing my traveling back to Alberta. Schedule for the team, for my content, it'll get back to normal once I'm settled, starting next, Wednesday. Wednesday, I'll be able to have a day after for the Ottawa game, and then regular scheduled content, pregame reports, postgame reactions, and maybe a live stream here and there if I'm able to work it. Extended hours at work now. Who knows? It's the holidays. Just trying to get through the holidays right now. Oilers fans, thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. I wish I had something more positive to talk about. Habs fans, I truly appreciate how amazing you all were while I stayed here in Montreal. Montreal citizens were incredible. Habs fans were incredible. The Bell Center, maybe my favorite building I've been in, and I've only been to 2 NHL buildings, of course, so it's not like I have a huge sample size to talk about, but the fans were great. The buzz, the atmosphere. This is a hockey city. This is truly a hockey city. This is a hockey town, and I cannot wait for my next trip back to Montreal. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button if you liked tonight's video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed. GG's, Habs fans, Oilers fans. Hopefully there's a bit better things to talk about after the Sens game tomorrow night. I'll see you tomorrow night, Oil Country. Take care. Tell someone that you love them, and always fight like a kid, fight like Ben. Let's go, Oilers.